Alright, so now that we've set up our I Am Rich project, I just wanted to show you a couple of things. So when you look in the navigation pane on the left, you should be inside the project navigator. And if you look in here, there will be a number of files, and together all of these files make up your app. So some of these files will have a little swift bird icon, and these are the code files. So they'll contain the logic that makes up your app. And then there's other files with a yellow icon, which are the design files. And the first of these is the main.storyboard. And as the name suggests, this is where you'll be doing the majority of your design work for your app. There's also the launch screen.storyboard. This is where you'll design the loading screen. So the screen that comes up before your app loads up. So here you'll be putting in your company logo or your personal logo. And finally, there is the assets.exe assets folder. This is where we'll be putting the images for our app icons and any other image assets that we'll use in our app. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go into the main.storyboard and start designing our app. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is this single screen setup. If you remember when we set up the project, we selected single screen template. So there's just one single blank screen. And you see this little arrow over here. Now, this arrow dictates where the starting screen is for your app. So for example, if we had two view controllers in our app, then we can actually specify which view controller we want the app to start up on, the left one or the right one. For this app, we only have one screen, so let's just get rid of that other screen and set our view controller as the first view controller. And then we're going to have a look down here. Now, if you click on this button where it says View as iPhone 6s, it toggles open various different size classes for our canvas. At the moment, we've got the 4.7-inch iPhone 6 canvas selected, but we can go down to the 4-inch iPhone 5 or iPhone SE canvas, or the iPhone 4, and we can also change the orientation from portrait to landscape. For now, we're going to keep it on portrait. And we're going to choose the iPhone 6s canvas. You can also zoom in and zoom out on this little tab, but I prefer to use the pinch to zoom on the trackpad. Alright, so now we've seen this pane, we can make it disappear. So click on that button again. Very often when you're working in Xcode, you want to try and make your life as easy as possible by giving yourself as much screen real estate as possible. And especially if you're working on a MacBook, which is, 13 inches or 11 inches, you want to try and toggle close these panes if you're not using them to give yourself just a bit more space. Okay, so now we want to add a label to our screen and make it say I am rich. So let's head over to the utilities pane. Now you'll notice that the utilities pane is actually split into two. The top part with 6 tabs up here and the bottom part with 4 tabs. Now we're going to focus on the bottom part for now. And the current tab that we're in is called the object library. So it's this little square and a circle icon. And we want to find a label. So one way of doing this is scrolling through the object library and looking for the thing that you want, whether it's a label or a button. But a much easier way is to actually go down into the search bar here and type for what it is that you're looking for. So you can either click here to type, or you can use the shortcut, which is Command-Alt-L, and we're just going to type for UI label. And there it is. So we're going to click on it and drag it onto screen. Now, while I've got it held down and I'm dragging it around on the screen, you can see these margins pop up when I move close to them. So if I wanted my label to be aligned to the left margin or the right margin or in the center, it's quite easy to do. But don't worry about that for now. Just drop it onto screen somewhere near the top. And we're going to change the text property of our label to say, I am rich. I am rich. Now, you can change the text property two ways. One, by changing it in here in the Attributes Inspector. Alternatively, you can actually just double click on the label itself and write whatever it is that you want. Now we're going to change the font. So if we just click on this little T button, we can change the font type from System to Custom. We're going to go for the Helvetica family with style thin, and the size we're going to change it to 40 point, and then just click Done. Now something bizarre has happened. Our label has partly disappeared on the screen. So what's happening here? Well, the problem is the label is too small to fit the enlarged text. So you can either take one of these toggles and make it bigger or smaller. Alternatively, I'll show you a neat trick. So just click on a bit of white space outside the view controller canvas. And then you're going to click to select the label, and then you're going to hold down Command and press the equal sign for Xcode to resize the label to the precise size that fits all the text perfectly. So now that we've resized our label, I'm going to go ahead and change the color to white. You can either change it here because I've recently used it, or you can find it down here. There we go. So now I've created a bit of an artificial problem for you guys. We've got a label with white text on a white background. So where the hell has our label gone? Well, it's easy enough to find it by just looking in the document outline. There it is. But we're going to change the background so that our label actually shows up. You can do this in two ways, by either clicking somewhere on the canvas that's not the label, or you can just select the view over here. Now in here we're going to go to the background property, and you're going to click on the drop down list. So you can either pick one of your recently used colors, or you can go down here into other. Now there's some of these crayons which are colors that Apple has pre-configured, or you can go to the color wheel and select one of your own, or you can go into the color sliders, making sure that RGB sliders is selected in the drop down list. You can enter a custom hex color code. So if you are a designer yourself, or if you are a developer working with a designer, most often you'll be provided with a hex color code. So I know which one I want, which is 34495E, and that's a nice midnight blue color, which will contrast quite nicely with my white label. All right, so now that's done, I'm going to close this color picker. And you can see that my label is kind of randomly somewhere on the screen. So this is a bit of a problem. And I want to teach you guys some more precise design methodologies. In a lot of cases, when you're working as an iPhone developer and you're working with a client, the client might have a professional designer on board who will specify the exact positions and sizes and colors of all the user interface elements. So for example, they might want their labels in a certain place, on a certain size, or their buttons somewhere specific. And in order to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the label to select it, and instead of being in the Attributes Inspector tab, we're going to go into the Size Inspector by clicking on this little ruler symbol. And I want you to change the X position of the label to 108, the Y position to 100, the width to 160, and the height to 50. Then we're going to go back into the Attributes Inspector and center align our label. So now, if you look at your canvas, it should look exactly like my canvas, because we've specified the exact positions and the exact size of our label. So this makes our design far more precise and far more consistent. So in this lesson, we've learned about customizing labels and positioning. In the next episode, we're going to talk about image assets, how to incorporate them, how to use them, and how to make them look good on screen. So that's all to come. I'll see you in the next lesson.